It,
What do you
fuck
want
off.
from me?
I want
This is gonna be
results.
in the video.
I want a major win. Is it so much to ask for? Why can't you just deliver on the one thing we hired you for? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Path. It's Dara and it's Brian here today with another phenomenal content piece. We're going to be doing a tier list, which is everyone's favorite competitive insight video topic based on all our YouTube metrics. This one's going to be fun. We're doing a tier list of the matchups as they currently stand, with the context of the balanced data slate being out, a bunch of codexes being out, including our own, and the two of us having gotten quite a bit of reps with the new book. So we kind of know roughly where we stand with a lot of these armies, a little bit vague on some other ones. But yeah, it's going to be quite a fun video. Probably going to be a little bit of a long one because we're going to go through all the factions. So, good time to get a brew and relax to this. Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Dar. I mean, it's always fun to be talking tier lists, as
It
you
is.
can tell. Like, it's actually like thoughtful, insightful, and totally factual and not opinionated whatsoever, and
Hmm.
never to be flawed. Um, Tier lists are always fun. Just take into account that this is probably gonna be Dar and I's opinions, at top tables and from our own experiences. If you have that local bully that always seems to be beating you with orcs, with I don't know, still more DACA somehow. That doesn't mean orcs are a bad matchup for us. Maybe just your friends in your head. So just keep that in mind. These are our opinions, but we're gonna work our way through them together and be wrong a little bit.
Yeah, of course. I suppose given that, like, we got to kind of address, obviously, first of all, what kind of context we're talking about with these matchups. So, I think the most important thing is like the context of like you as the world leader player, how are you approaching this? And really that means kind of what detachment are you running? And in my opinion, probably the best catch-all is to talk about it in the context of Berserker Warband because the tournament data is showing that the vast majority of people are running Warband. Like we're talking single digit numbers every week for all the other detachments, and then Warband will be like 30 to 40 people. So,
Broadly, I think that the matchup matrix spread doesn't spread that much across the detachments in terms of like, I mean, you're still gonna have
yeah.
a slightly favored. It's not going to be crazy different. The only one that will be a little different is going to be Demonkin because that is its own weird animal.
Hmm.
The other and a cult of blood too. But the other four core like that are going to be working with the same data sheets are roughly going to overlap a lot in terms of what they want to be playing and what they want to be avoiding.
There's not a lot of matchups that, like, Vessels is like having a hard time against that Slaughter isn't, that Berserker is having a completely different experience. Those four generally kind of clump into the same sort of we want to play this thing. It's just I guess Berserker Warband opens up a lot more doors because of the strength break point is that little
Yeah.
bit higher. Um, so I think it's a fair enough one to discuss in terms of like the matchups and just also it's the most relatable for everyone watching because the vast majority of our viewers are running Warband. And by the sounds of it in our Patreon chat, it's the same thing in there, which if you're not already a Patreon, you should go check it out. We got some fun stuff going on in that side of the Red Path. But let's not waste any more time. We've got a lot of factions to cover here. What's first on the list, Brian?
Well, it appears to be in alphabetical order. So we're starting off with the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is a strong one, as Dara and I were mentioning before we even um, started filming. I've probably played a couple hundred games of 10th edition, and I have yet to play against an AdMech player. And that's not because I'm not an active player. I mean, like I'm grinding events every other weekend. I just don't see them. They don't exist. I have a rough idea of what they do, but if I'm truthfully going to tell you how this matchup's going to go, I don't know. This could be one where your local friend just bullies you. Um, it's a lot of T3, one wound bodies, and
A
some
lot of
T4,
infantry.
a lot of infantry, which it's going to be a recurring theme that I actually feel like world leaders broadly in the index struggle into other infantry-based armies, um, mainly because we were AP1. Things with Armor of Contempt access, weird invulns, weird dice modifiers could actually make us struggle, right? And we did not have good skirmishing either. So infantry spam armies were kind of a struggle, but not anymore. My gut would tell me. With the assistance of Forge Fiends, Pile and Consolidate 6, being able to just chew through the screens of AdMac and be able to tie them up. Um, I'm comfortable saying I wouldn't be scared of playing them. Now, I'd probably have a very eye-opening moment the first time I play them on the table, but I don't think it's anything that would catch me off guard.
Mm. I
Like,
feel like they're in the don't throw and you'll be fine category simply for the fact that like there is that unknown of like what do AdMech do that you can't say for certain you're gonna win. I'd be happy putting them up in the don't throw.
and I'd say that it's unfortunate for AdMac players too, because I feel like of all of the factions of 10th edition so far, I feel like they're the most forgotten in term
Yeah,
and Imperial Agents isn't a real faction, so don't say that. But I was either going to give them Thinking Man's Game out of respect. Oh, speaking of which, sorry, we need to go through the categories first.
of course, of
We've
course.
so of course, I mean we've kind of like skipped it, but if we're talking like the best top matchup ever, literal free game, matchup de la creme, that has been a recurring tier list S tier for us. And we have Don't Throw and You'll Be Fine for our next tier, which is like the you can make a couple mistakes, but really you're throwing if you're going to lose this game. Your Thinking Man's Game is where you have to put your like Thinking Man's cap on and really like sit down and think about how the game's going to be going, and it's probably going to be back and forth. And then we have Clench, as in clench your cheeks, because it's going to be a rough one, and you better play perfectly. And then, as Dara was explaining, we have the Dark Souls fog wall of, oh no, I paired this, I'm walking into a boss fight. Um, so with that, moving on to Eldar.
Yeah, Eldar. It's obviously they've taken a little bit of a fall from grace with Yanari, and I think maybe Eldar players haven't quite rebounded from that yet. Um, as their, I suppose, meta settles down, we might see some new stuff come out, some like Seer Council bills and things like that. I think broadly speaking, they're a pretty fine matchup now, simply for the fact that like we have a lot of really great tools for dealing with Eldar. We still have some really good speed. They're still predominantly fielding a lot of infantry bodies, which, as Brian said, we don't really have much of a problem with. Forge Fiends are good for just like bad touching an aspect squad off in the corner. And none of their like vehicles are particularly hard to bring down as well. So
No.
like I think broadly speaking, Eldar is probably falling somewhere in the middle of the don't throw and you'll be fine category for me.
Yeah, I actually do think it's quite a favorable matchup. Now that Yanari's gone, there's an
Mm,
asterisk there. I used to think that Yanari was an okay matchup for melee pressure armies until I played Folger Piles on it, and then I realized when piloted perfectly, it almost felt hopeless. So now that that army has been like thrown in a trash can and kicked down the stairs, you're talking Warhost, Aspect Host, like Dara saying Windrider, the more unique Eldar builds, but they're less gotcha-y and less trappy, and they have a lot less durability. And World Leaders are really good at playing primary, which Eldar is really bad at playing primary. So when you combine the two together, I feel like we can really bully them off the table. So yeah, I absolutely put them in the don't throw and you'll be fine category. I'm not scared of any Eldar matchup unless they're like skewing heavy into weird banshees and like
hmm
Autar banshee skews.
Okay, Imperial
Um,
Agents is next. Have you played these guys? Because I have yet to have a game against agents.
I've watched them play and I've watched them at the table, and they have like one really cool strat in the book.
That's cute. Matchup de la creme. Okay.
I mean, when you don't have an army rule and your entire army is T3, and the best thing you can do is ally in Canis Rex.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Black Templars.
Yeah. Templars is a fun one. I always really enjoy playing against Templars. One of my good buddies is big Templars fan. And obviously we know that they do have a Codex supplement coming out. We can broadly assume it's probably going to fall into the category of four different ways to chop things. I think it's a pretty fine matchup simply because Dev Wounds versus Infantry is a hell of a drug against them. And like I feel like there's like this weird thing where Templar players have like gaslit their entire player base into thinking that they're a hyper durable army, and they're just like not really that durable in the end. Like they kind of rock up with like the 20-man Grimaldus break being like, oh yeah, bro, nothing can kill this. And then you like kill it with like Karn and the boys quite easily, and they're sort of left wondering. Forge means also like open up this matchup like so much because
If
that
they are,
like.
Yeah, if they're not playing
Sword
Righteous
Brethren squad.
Crusaders, if they're not
Yeah.
playing Righteous Crusaders, it's over. It's so bad. It's
Hmm.
awful for them.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say this is like obviously there's a whole range of different things that Templar players can bring to the table with access to Codex Space Marines, but I think this is pretty free. I would be putting this in my matchup de la creme for sure.
Yeah, and with the widespread of damage 3 that we have, the access to really high AP in weird spots, right? All you gotta do is pay a CP, give Khorne AP 3, or play Vessels, and Khorne also is AP. Oh, he's not AP 3 there, but his boys are AP 2, AP 3 with lethal sustained dev. You have no issue walking through most of these units, and their units are still very expensive. They got a lot of characters running all over the place. They're in transports. If there's one thing world leaders do not struggle at, it's killing Marines. And
Hmm.
Templars is an army that likes to spam a lot of Marine bodies. So,
They're
I
very much
would.
like doing what. Oh, I would put these guys in matchup de la creme. Put them right at the top. Yeah.
It's probably true, which is
Mm.
unfortunate for them. And we're obviously assuming that if we're playing Chapter Black Templars, they're playing the Black Templar units. This isn't like Black Templar Ironstorm, where it's just three Black
Something
Templar
else.
Gladiator Lancers and then the Space Marine Codex, right? That's not Black Templars
Yeah.
to me.
Okay. We have
Um,
a pretty spicy one up next with the Blood Angels. They're in a real interesting spot right now.
Really unnecessary one too. Like they didn't have to be interesting. They could have just been fine, right?
Sangard didn't need to be 110 points when 8 band are 150, I'll tell you that much.
No, they didn't. But we're not gonna crack that can of worms open. Um,
Yeah. I it's kind of funny because like, maybe somebody who's less in tune with the whole thing would think that this is very like similar to Black Templars, but it's just not. It's just
they
really
just
not
have
that
more
similar.
stuff.
They've just got a lot of stuff, and their stuff is good. Sangard are actually a very annoying profile for us to get through. Um, I don't love them. Their character support is also exceptionally good, with like Meph and six, or sorry, Dante and Six Sangard just being like
Oh,
a very,
Mephiston is
very
too.
difficult break. Yeah.
Like you can't just charge Mephiston with 8 pound and expect to always come out on top. Sometimes he just randomly spikes you off the table, and
Mm-hmm.
you can waste resources minus them. And you know what? Like it used to be, to our credit, the best thing we had in this matchup was Angron previously in the index. Because
Yeah.
Blood Angels really struggled to actually just lift Angron in one go. You pop -1 damage on him. Pretty much nothing in their roster did it. Well, Big Red really isn't doing too hot right now. And the Demon Prince, I put a little bit less faith in surviving the hit with 6 less wounds and -1 damage. You're really relying on fight on death and trying to out trade them, but it's
Mm.
hard to out trade them when they're just 40% cheaper than you.
Yeah, I mean, like they're gonna have on average like 2 to 3 units extra. So you have to have a very strong trading game. That said, I feel like our output is still a little bit higher than theirs, you know? Like
Yeah.
they've got kind of a bit more of a durability skew, whereas we have an output skew. Like they can still kill stuff, no problem. But, you know, Vanguard might be more survivable than 8 band, but they're probably not as lethal as them.
No, and once you
So,
start stacking 3 keywords on 8 pound,
mm,
that's where the difference really comes in between the two. And
hmm
it's not saying that Sangard are strictly better than 8 pound. I mean, they probably are better, especially at their points cost. But as Dara was
yeah.
saying, like we can kill them. And we don't have an issue killing them. It's just there's a
The
lot of
the
them.
thing is, yeah, like at the end of the day, they still lean into a very marine infantry heavy build. And they don't have a lot of great answers to like armor. So if you are bringing the Forge Fiends, they have a relatively free game, which is good because their Blood Angels typically pack a lot of 3-win bodies between Blade Guard and Sandguard everywhere. I would put them like very firmly in the Thinking Man's game, because it is. Anytime I play BA, if it's like someone around my skill level, it's like, yeah, this is big, big brain time.
And I'm gonna put them probably at the bottom of Thinking Man's game. I'll just give them respect because I'll say
Mm,
of all of the melee matchups that we can get stuck in, they're probably the hardest, I'd say, just because of how unnecessarily buffed they were. The just them getting an extra 1 to 2 units. Just
yeah, I don't disagree. Okay.
moving on, Chaos Knights, and
Ooh.
we don't have any information on Imperial Knights, so we're going to just
Yeah.
probably take Imperial Knights in a vacuum. Maybe we just put it next to Chaos Knights and
The
wherever our
only
opinions
information
are.
we have on IK is the fact that like they got the sort of update today where like their profiles got changed and their points costs dropped through the floor.
Yeah, like Canis and 12 is a thing now,
Yeah,
guys.
like Canis is just going to exist in every single Imperial list
But we're
now.
not but we're not gonna crack that open. We're talking about Chaos Knights,
No,
and
no.
we actually know
Okay,
quite a bit about Chaos Knights.
we do, we do.
And
Me being the resident Chaos Knight player on the channel.
and let me tell you, I'll give my opinion real quick. This codex almost made me list Spiral. Actually, didn't almost. It did make me list Spiral. All of the Death Guard players in my area keep playing Mortarion, and all of the Thousand Sons players are crawling out of the cracks in the ground, and they're all playing Magnus. And now somebody's gonna walk in the room with six big knights, and they're all gonna be 26 wounds, -1 damage, and they're gonna sticky objectives, make them OC5, and nothing in a World Eater's army other than the Berserker squad is going to unsticky that. And it's really hard for Berserker squads to make it across the table. Usually they're like the first thing getting mulched in the middle of the table anyways. So half the time when they say, I'm going to pay 1 CP and sticky this objective, I'm like, sweet, you've scored 20 points. I'm never taking that from you. It's like impossible to. So
Yeah.
the list spiraling is me considering playing Angron again, right? He's OC6, he can unsticky objectives, and he keeps me from auto losing to -1 damage knight. I don't know how I beat. Khorne cannot kill six big knights. He just can't. He can kill one, and it's like that meme of like SpongeBob beating the crap out of the clock on the floor, the alarm clock, and then Squidward like opens the door, and there's like 20 more alarm clocks.
Yep.
It's That's what it feels like, and like that was like me with the like Lehman Russes and stuff too. It's like that exact same problem. I think if it's big knight skew,
Which
you're in
it probably
trouble,
will be.
which it probably will be because that's
Mm.
the easiest way to play it. It's going to be in trouble. Now, if it's War Dog skew the other way around, I actually think it's nearly free. But I think we're going to see big knights way more. I don't think we're gonna be as bad as other armies at killing them because we still can kill them and we still can play a game in it. Like they're still knights. They still struggle to play the game well without action. Like if you kill their action monkeys first, they can't do secondaries, can't do primary. I really feel like being able to kill three and then figure it out from there is probably going to win you most of your games. But you're never killing all six unless you're doing something weird like three Mauler Fiends and Angron and multiple Lord of Skulls, right? But your
Yeah.
typical world leader list is not killing six big knights. So I would probably put this firmly in like bottom of clinch. Um, because I think I still maybe not bottom, but somewhere in clinch where I think I can still win that game. But it's definitely going to come down to do I roll enough fives to wound?
I genuinely think this could be our hardest matchup in the game right now.
I wouldn't be
Like
shocked.
we don't have like a fantastic capacity to kill six big knights. And like the thing that's really freaking me out, which I feel like is going to be kind of like unleashed on the world soon, is like, yes, six big knights is good. Eventually Chaos Knight players are going to kind of like pivot away from it because it is just a stat check. Like six big is literally just can you damage. But what's really scary is like I've been building lists with like my pet detachment iconoclast fiefdom, the Grotmas one. And like, you know what's scarier than six big knights? It's like four big knights with 50 cultists screening them. Like, how are you engaging with that as a world leader player? You're just not. And it's actually 70 cultists because 20 of them respawn. So like now you've got like six big knights is literally that's the list, six big knights, right? Whereas you've got like four and I think maybe one or two dogs as well. And then you've got just bodies all over the board to do your actions, to screen your big boys who are just running around absolutely hosing you. There's a reactive move in there as well for the cultists. Like they've that detachment is so good in the new codex. It's like very, very scary. So I think once like six big knights world leader players can like struggle through and win some of those games. I don't know if there is a world where world leaders can beat iconoclast fiefdom, and I just hope to God that that doesn't catch on. So if you're watching this, don't tell your Chaos Knight players to look at iconoclast because that thing is hella scary for combat armies. I would like these guys are definitely behind the fog wall for me.
It really is. It's kind of why I I'm sorry, night players out there. I hate the fact that armies like this exist because it is going to just ask the room, be like, can anybody in here deal with my presence? No, hand me my trophy.
I
Is
don't
how
think
it's gonna
okay,
go.
I like don't really like buy into that whole thing. I do think they drop the points on the knights a bit too low. Like I feel like five should be really where you top out with the big boys, you know? You shouldn't you shouldn't be forced to kill more than one big knight a battle round if you're playing into them. Um I think their points costs are kind of like comical. The Atropos was already like one of the best knights in the book at like 425, and now it's like 355 or something. That
Yeah.
is a bit wild, you know? So yeah, I'm just not really sure they needed to be as cheap as they are, but it's definitely a very scary matchup for world leaders. And one of the worst parts is the Abominant just like lifts 8 bound like there's no tomorrow. He is so crazy efficient into them. And when there's three of those, you are just gonna put your 8 bound out in one turn and hope to God that they pick up whatever you put them into
Like
because
I said,
they're
you better
not
roll
going to
fives.
exist.
You
Yeah,
better roll fives.
you gotta roll fives. Fives or threes if you're running the Exalted, I guess.
Or fours and Gortrak.
Um, yep, that's true. That's true. Okay,
CSM.
CSM.
Now,
They're kind of in a weird languishing spot in the meta. I feel like there's not like a crazy amount of innovation with them other than people being like the Lord Discordant is cool now.
I mean, at one point in time, in the last mod, I was arguing that they were top three armies in the game.
They've
Um,
got a ton of tools,
and
don't get me
it's
wrong. I
not
just
because
feel
of
like
CSM
the
though. It's entirely the 18 Noise Marines that they're playing.
okay, yeah, I keep forgetting that that hell is still real.
Um,
Yeah,
you get Renegade Raiders, full rerolls to hit and wound Noise Marines that have an extra AP. That's just
it's just
they're
good.
they're just better than EC Noise Marines, and
Hmm.
uh, we have our own team's roster where I mean, like we're playing 36 Noise Marines on a 8-man team because it doesn't count as taking the faction by allying and Noise Marines and CSM, and it feels really dirty to do to people. Um, so I mean, I guess like Bile creations of Bile like used to be really strong and oppressive in the meta. Like I'd
Mm.
argue it was one of the strongest and most oppressive armies in the game. And is it weird that I can say that I feel like it got power crept straight out of the meta?
I don't know if it was power crept. I think the meta actually just like changed into something that creations can't really answer anymore. I don't like necessarily think there's like a crazy amount of power creep happening. I think
Mhm.
it's just like we're moving into a heavy armor meta, and Bile is like, well, I wanted to kill heavy infantry. What the hell am I supposed to do now? You know?
I
They're
mean,
kind of like us, but way more
I
specialized.
mean, possessed are only strength five. That's just,
Yeah, yeah,
and if you're wounding knights on sixes and world leaders have just damage three for days, noise marines came out, death guard is T7 plus, -1 damage access, like they can just make possessed bounce.
yeah.
So I guess the context should be reined back in, as I would say that the most common version, most successful version of CSM you're going to be seeing is going to be that Raiders list that I was talking about, where you're going to have 12 to 18 Noise Marines, some Disco Lords, and then dudes in transports running out to fight you. It's very fair 40k.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
very efficient 40k. CSM's always been that efficient trading army, and we used to struggle into that because we did not trade efficiently, and a squad of legionaries could ruin our day. Now with the onset of Chaos, World Leaders Chaos Spawn being like the premier trading unit in 40k, period. Um, I don't fear the fair armies that much anymore on the table. And in
Yeah.
fact, like they're still just Marines. They still just die. You can still pull a tape measure out and pre-measure where they can go. The Noise Marines do hurt. They only get to do that full rerolls once per turn. So as long as you run up to them and touch them, because that detachment does not have access really to fall back and shoot. I mean, they have the fake fallback where they can kind of fall back and then shoot you on the next turn. But broadly, that's not really a thing. Um, the army has access to widespread. So I think it's just a thinking man's game. It's going to come down to a player's skill off. It's not free. I wouldn't put it nearly in Eldar or AdMech range,
No,
but
but it's definitely like towards the top of Thinking Man's game. Like you are favored going into that matchup most of the time. Obviously, there's so much choice in that in the CSM players' hands in terms of what they actually bring that the matchup can vary quite a bit. But I think it's probably quite fine. I've just realized I don't think EC is in this tier list. Do we want to like touch on EC as we're talking about the Noise Boys?
I mean, I guess yeah, we'll talk about EC, and that's the tier list we grabbed. I guess wasn't updated for it. Um, I've had many games into EC now,
Mm.
many games, and I've ex watched them on the tabletop function. I think that I don't know, hot take that'll probably get me like grilled, but I think the army's overhyped.
Oh yeah,
These
big time.
I
They're
think the
kind of
army's
like us, but like not quite as good, I
like
think.
I've played quite a bit of EC. Like it's probably my second most played army of 10th edition. and they are quite strong. Like Noise Marines do just slap, but they don't kill everything, right?
Mm.
It's only 6 damage,
And
three
you know what else they
shots.
do? They die so
Easy.
easily to a Forge Fiend
I'm
overwatching when they
I'm
hop out of their bus.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Dara. The scariest thing in their list is the Winged Demon Prince, which is
hmm
T9.
And Lucius. Lucius is pretty scary.
Lucius is scary too, but I that Lucius's damage capacity, he actually doesn't do that much damage. If he's
It's
walking
more
up
like
to a
he
spot.
cripples the damage coming into him, though.
Right, but you can if you -1 damage him, it actually contains him quite well. Like I just took 3 Exalted Ape on a Slaughterbound. I just headbutted Lucius with it, and it was fine. Like it was fine. He killed two. I killed him. Regen to dude. Right? There's ways you can deal with that, but the things that people complain the most about are the Winged Demon Princes, and I can see
Mm.
how, for the rest of the meta, that's a huge problem. Three -1 damage, high toughness, 2 up 4 up bodies. But if we're talking in the context of Berserker Warband, like the army is just the whole army is strength 10, the whole thing, or 9, right? Khorne will almost kill one of these things by himself, and then he has the boys to help, right? And then same thing, Glavemo has no issue killing this. Slaughterbound +3 Exalted, who cares that I'm -1 damage? Still gonna kill it. Our Demon Prince will probably go beat the crap out of this one in an alley. Now, it has to, obviously,
I've
our
run
team.
that simulation in Slaughter It takes like 2 turns for that to go through, but yeah, he'll get there eventually.
Usually, but a Forge Fiend shooting at a Winged Demon Prince will take like 4 or 6 wounds off of it. If you spike
Yep.
just a little bit, you'll kill it. Like, we don't struggle to get over that stat check that the Winged Demon Princes create.
hmm
We are just as fast as EC to be able to get up in their face. The Pile and Consolidate 6, it's a great tool to have in the melee matchups when they don't have that back. And if you're careful to play around the Fight Me strat and Arm of Contempt, you just don't fall for their gotchas. I actually feel like World Leaders are pretty favored in that pairing. Like
I would put them definitely in like don't throw and you'll be fine,
I would
you
put them
know?
at bottom of Don't Throw and you'll be fine
Yeah, me
because
too.
I think I always get cautious when we're talking about melee army on melee army because usually it just comes down to player skill in those
Mm.
environments because it's just who's better at the movement phase. But if we're assuming equal player skill, like I don't fear playing EC at all. Like they're fast, they hit not hard. They don't hit that hard. They hit hard, but not world leader hard. Um, they are just 5 dudes plus a Lord Exultant is just like, what is that? 22 chainswords and a strength 4 chainswords, and then a guy stabbing you, and you -1
It's
damage the
not that,
guy,
yeah,
and
it's
you're
not
like,
that
oh,
scary.
that wasn't that bad. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it's that bad. So I would say,
You
don't
can
throw and
run
you'll be
them over,
fine.
like you can run over the infractors or the other ones with jackals, you know? Like you just can't. It's a drug. Anyway, we've got a very free matchup next. This is probably the freest matchup in the entire tier list, I would say. We've got the Custodes.
As
I
long as they
literally,
don't,
I think this is entirely free. Like
as long as they don't roll fours. I mean, you had my
it doesn't
Dallas
even
story.
matter.
You had
Ah,
my Dallas
man,
story.
listen. That's a you problem,
It
okay?
isn't
Like
entirely a me problem. Look,
Custodes is like, hello, we're a load of like hyper elite expensive infantry. And I'm like, well, I've got dev wounds versus infantry. Goodbye. And then they die. And
and
then
then
the Custodes player is sad.
and
And
you're
I'm
all 3
happy.
wounds.
Yep.
And the Forge Fiend's like, oh, you moved near me? You're gonna pop your Feel No Pain?
Yep.
Oh, you killed the spawn on that objective, and now you're standing in front of a Forge Fiend. You gonna pop that Feel No Pain? You did? Oh, okay. Oh, here's Karn. Right? Like you're not there.
Yep.
We actually have the tools now to be able to dance around the one. Like they're very oppressive to monophase armies. I guess Tau can still cry, but in guard, like Tau and guard, have no idea how to do this. Actually having, and this is why I like, and I did not talk about this for EC. I think I stopped Dara from talking about it, but like this is why Forge Fiends are really important for these matchups, is because they really open the door. Like traditionally, if we were playing Index World Leaders into current EC, I'd say that was a horrible matchup for us. Um, but because we can force certain armies to exist within 18 inches of us, like we were saying, those Noise Marines only have an 18-inch range. That is the magic number for a Forge Fiend, right? If they're shooting you, that
hmm
means they're within 18 inches of you, and your Forge Fiend can move up and lift the whole squad if it doesn't overwatch and kill half the squad anyways. Same thing with Custodes. You kill their trash early, force them to come to the middle of the table, make them come to be within 18 inches of you, and we don't struggle for ways to kill 3-1 Custodian bodies anymore. As long as they stop rolling fours. If they roll 90% fours, then there's nothing you can do. But I agree with Dara. I think this matchup is almost free. I wouldn't call it matchup de la creme because Custody still has a ridiculous damage output. Um,
You wouldn't call this matchup de la creme?
I
Bro,
feel like you could throw to Custodes.
this is like creme on top of my creme. No, you can throw into Custodes. Most World Leader players won't.
Okay.
Put that ahead of Black Templars.
No
Come on.
respect. All
Nope.
right.
Demons is a kind of a difficult one to discuss, right? Like there's a lot going on in that book.
I just
Or
book. Funny. I don't know how. I have. I don't respect demons really that much. Like
mm. I
they
think
don't.
you are to demons what I am to Custodes.
Is it true? Okay. Well,
Yeah, because
they
like
are,
I kind of fear demons in the way you fear Custodes.
but like they are exactly what you've been describing Chaos Knights is. They're just a bunch of big bodies, and they're even cheaper than Chaos Knights. And in some situations, they hit just as hard or harder, and they have screens for days. And it's never been a problem for me. But then Chaos Knights comes around. Honestly, it's the -1 damage that scares me. It's like their whole army has 4 up, feel no pain, great unclean one. That's what it honestly feels like to me in my head when I'm screaming to myself. But Chaos Demons, big boys. They're all, if they're not a chicken, it's bigger than T10. That's a problem, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And they have that like kind of spicy Chaos Space Marine Allies detachment, which is pretty good too.
Yep. Shot.
There's a lot going on there. I think it's like it's so dependent on what the demon player is actually bringing to the table, but I feel like broadly if it does fall into thinking man's game.
It is definitely a thinking man's game one. The thing that we have up on Chaos Demons is they actually struggle for damage output. Um,
Mm,
like if you lined 2,000 points of demons up and let it just charge another army, it's it would do substantially less damage than most of the other armies on this chart if they got to line up and just do whatever they wanted to the opponent's army, right? I
hmm
mean, the greater demons do hit hard, but they don't table you hard. So if you kind of just disrespect them and like I was saying earlier, kill half of them and then go where the other ones aren't, like I said with the Chaos Knights, you're not killing all 6 Chaos Knights. That should never be your goal walking up to this game with Chaos Demons either. You should never walk up to the table with the goal of tabling your opponent. It's kill 3, figure it out, and then go where they're not.
That makes sense. I think you have a bit more experience into that than I do.
And I would probably call it thinking man's game because I do understand that we've gotten stat checks are quite a bit harder for us to deal with. But they used to be free for us to deal with when you had strength 15, exalted 8 pound. Uh, but I would probably put them in thinking man's game.
That makes sense. I don't disagree.
Dangles.
Um, all right, speaking of stat checks, Dark Angels. Obviously their like new detachment is like one of those stat checky hyper durability lifestyle builds, and the lion is pretty good again. Um, I don't know. How are you feeling about Dark Angels?
So like the Lion's gotten 2 datasheet rewrites, and it
Yeah.
kind of pisses me off that I don't really feel like he needed the last rewrite. I felt like he was fine. Like, can they just make their mind up what they want to do with the Loyalist Primarchs?
Yeah.
Like Mortarion was bad for the entire edition until right now, and he never got this level of favoritism that these two, Gilliman and the Lion, have received. Hopefully there's something in the works for Angron to just get to uppy downy every turn and go where he wants and have fights first and a 3-up invuln. I'll take that all day, and an actual good sweep too. Um, but transhuman is a detachment rule. It's pretty strong, right? The entire army is going to be
Yeah.
-1 to wound into us. But we are already an incredibly lethal army.
Mm.
Um,
And
I
Dev Wounds versus Infantry is such a heavy lifter in this matchup.
it is, but they can pop the 4-up Feel No Pain to Dev Wounds. Like it's going to be
They
a
can, but like they can only do that so much, you know?
it's going to be a back and forth slugfest. And
Yeah.
the thing about the Lion is that if he's uppy downying to come get you, that means he does not have his 4-up Feel No Pain, and that means your Rhino or Forge Fiend should locate where he is and then slam on the gas and tank shock him, and you also grenades him, and you do everything in your power to put mortal wounds on him. Um, while you can. Forge Fiend, shoot at him and tank shock him and grenade him. That's how you get rid of him. Don't charge him. Obviously, he has fights first and a 3-up invuln. It will not end well for you. The answer used to be charge Angron at it and figure it out. That's not a good answer because we don't have Angron. You can see why I'm spiraling, Dara.
It's okay.
Um, Khorne and the boys actually do a pretty reasonable job of killing Deathwing Knights. The math was they actually almost outright killed the whole squad before the transhuman. Now with the transhuman, obviously we have to take a step back, and that means that you probably need to be committing a Forge Fiend and then Karn, or
Hmm.
Spawn plus Karn, or something else. Like I feel like the matchup's very manageable. They're very written on paper what they can do. Like it's not like Gladius where they have six get out of jail free strats. Um, Still a fantastic detachment. I'm gonna need some reps into this. I would probably put it in Thinking Man's game.
I think so, but I guess like the question that I have to pitch to you on that is you're at a GT, would you rather play into new BA or would you rather play into Dark Angels? And I think I would rather play BA.
I think you're
Like
right.
I would put them behind Blood Angels.
Maybe, maybe I'll just give them the respect of a clinch. Like, oh
Yeah, maybe
no,
we give them a little bit of a clench. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
at least gonna be like, oh, let's go figure this one out. And I still gotta
Mm.
feel this one out.
Yeah,
Which I
I
feel
think
like
that opinion might change as we get a little bit more reps into them, but yeah. Okay.
Death
Stink City.
Guard. Oh God.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a very, very tough one.
Okay, so I mean, you can go for it, Dara. You've already had Aiden in your ear constantly, so
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like it's a super hard matchup, in my opinion. It's not like unwinnable. I think a lot of World Leader players seem to think it is unwinnable. I think if they're bringing Vectorum, it's pretty okay, and if they're bringing Hammer of Mortarion, it's pretty sad times. But Vectorum is like what's very popular at the minute. I think this matchup is winnable as long as you play a very, very good game. And for me, it's like peak clench moments where I'm like, I can't afford to make a mistake here. My like pushes have to be very correct, and I can't afford to lose scoring pieces doing silly things. So as long as I get those things right, should get the win. But I need to really like lock in for the game to make sure that that does happen. So for me, it's clench.
yeah. And I've said several times throughout the time on the channel and in the Discord that World Eaters as an army is we're one of the harder armies to play in the game because we just cannot afford to make mistakes. And Death Guard is kind of like the antithesis to that, where they're entirely a reactive army where they can respond very well to whatever the situation is on the table. They're not fast, but they do deep strike 6 inches away, and the drones do fly 10 inches and still shoot you and pick an eight-bound squad up if you're not paying attention. So if you're not pre-measuring where the drones can go or where the Plague Marines can exit their bus, which those Plague Marines one shot a 20-man brick of Berserkers very easily from
Hmm.
Vectorum. Like they on math just pick up 20 Berserkers, which is why I don't play that brick. But I'm saying our army does not like to get punished for movement mistakes. Death Guard is very good at punishing movement mistakes and very efficient at doing it because that army needs to probably go up 150 points. Um, until then, if it goes up 150 points and we drop and we go down like 50 points, I feel like that matchup actually becomes quite manageable. Until then, start saying clench because you can't make a mistake. Got to play perfectly.
Hmm.
And I don't think that matchup is unwinnable. I don't even think it's near our worst matchup in the game.
Oh, I
But
think it's near. I think it's like definitely close to one of our worst matchups in the game.
I've I have never I've been put on the back foot only once by Death Guard, and that was pretty much due to the mission entirely. Um, the Forge Fiends help a lot here. The Slaughterbound ingressing
Yeah.
helps a lot here. Um, I'm going to give it the respect of clinch. I'll put it beneath Dark Angels. We'll see
Mm.
where the rest fall from here.
Ah, there's another stupid one up next, Death Watch. Like this basically also just doesn't even exist. It's just Marines running around the place. They'll come down, they'll do a ton of damage once, and then you'll
Man,
just
this
like
one's
lift the
broken,
whole
but you'll never
army.
play against it.
Yeah, it's
Death Watch is
whatever.
good.
We should have made a category of like these armies don't exist. Death Watch is good. It's not that good. It's all infantry Marines. You
It's
can
pretty
blend
good.
them.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but like no one's actually playing it.
It's pretty good.
You know what's annoying is those fucking gunships that fly around because we've got no way to interact with them.
Yeah, we have Forge Fiends.
Sure, like over 3 turns they might kill one.
Look, Angron Spiral. If you got a Death Watch player in your area and you really need to get rid of them, the Death Watch planes, consider Angron. Um,
I think it's
de
like don't throw. It's like right there with Admech of just like, ah, whatever, you know.
it's a lot of 3/1 bodies. It's a lot of damage. They have the ability to just cut. Honestly, when a Death Watch player shoots at you, you're gonna feel like they're cheating because they're gonna go, I have heavy, lethal, sustained, extra AP, and like dev wounds, and that's every gun, and they can pay a CP and like add a sixth, and it's kind of bullshit. But then, as Dara is saying, they're very elite Marines that are jumping around the board. They do exist everywhere. I don't think they do anything necessarily special over like Grey Knights. They're just not as durable as Grey Knights. Maybe they hit a little bit harder than Grey Knights. Um, Definitely respect them. When you walk up to the table, don't be like, ah, a Marine army. No, you're going to be disappointed. It's not going to play like a Marine army. You're going to be very disappointed if you walk up to the table and be like, Space Marine. They're going to oath me and then shoot me and then I'm going to punch them back. No, they're going to table you if you walk up the table like mindlessly. But if you ask questions and ask what they're capable of in pre-measure, you'll be fine. I think you're fine, but I do think this army will cause you to play a very stressful game. Just because to play against it correctly, you got to ask the questions.
Yeah,
So I would put it in Think Man's game.
sure, man.
Okay. This army isn't real and it can't hurt you.
Mm.
Now is this army real and has it ever hurt you, Dara?
I think Drakari and the Index gave us like some sometimes challenging games depending on like the skill of the player, but in my opinion, with the discovery of Forge Fiends, the matchup just becomes so free because like Forge Fiends can down their transports insanely easily and then they just fall out and you just butcher them. Or like they fall out somewhere in the back and then they don't have lance and then you butcher them when they charge you. So like yeah, it's pretty free, I would say.
The army
Um
falls apart to -1 damage. The entire army's T3.
mhm.
Pile and consolidate 6 into a mass T3 infantry army. It's a
Touch
hell of a
everything.
drug.
Yep.
They have
Yep.
one fights first unit and it's not even really that scary.
Oh, it's pretty scary. Lilith
Uh,
will absolutely butcher 8
so you,
bound,
you
no
you take
problem.
Lilith, and you introduce her to the Demon Prince, and you're fine.
Sure, sure. She will kill a lot of stuff if you give her the space, for sure. I just think like I don't know. With our range support now, it's a very easy matchup because you can just down the boats. Whereas before they had like a lot of maneuverability you can't really like meaningfully interact with, and then you have to make these annoying pushes of like, oh, I need to send one unit to crack the transport and then another unit to kill the goodies. And now it's just like, okay, I blow it up with a forge fiend and kill everything inside with like my berserkers.
Or
Like
spawn.
everything you could comfortably run Cult of Blood into this and like massacre them with your combat output, which is just
A
weird. But
silly
like,
elf died to wrench and lead pipe.
yeah,
Um,
I think it's
I feel
definitely
like
one of our freest matchups.
that's an army that needs its codex pretty badly at this point. It's definitely on release. I mean, Drakari struggled in the release in 10th edition,
Mm.
but I feel like they thrived after they got their Sky Splinter, not Sky Splinter,
Drakari are
the
very, very scary when their shooting is really good because generally it's like extremely good shooting with pretty scary combat backing it up. It's kind of like the reverse of us, where it's like predominantly shooting with really good combat, whereas, we're the opposite of that. So like, yeah, when they get released, they could be quite scary. Until then, I'm not really stressed about them at all.
GSC. Um,
Yeah,
Go watch my GW stream
go
against
go watch
them.
the GW stream. Yeah,
You,
I think this one's like,
you want to table an army 3 times and have fun doing it the whole time?
hmm They
Um,
hate 6-inch piling consolidate so
They
much.
hate it so much. The GW casters walked up to me because they noticed I wasn't really announcing what my blessings were every turn. And I looked at them and I was like, it is pile and consolidate 6 sustained hits every turn of the game. And I was like,
Yeah.
it will never not be pile because Khorne was killing 5 units a turn, so I was getting 5 extra blood dice in the pool. Um, every time I rolled it, I was just like, it's just pile and consolidate 6 sustained hits the whole game. And you can take 10 berserkers and put 5 that way and 5 that way and kill 40 gene stealers just like that. Just make sure your 8 pounder standing next to them. Karns, you're rolling ones to hit and wound. You're wounding on twos. You have sustained hits. Pay a CP and they don't even get a save, right? Like they still
I
hurt.
think I would, yeah, I'd give them the respect in the sense that they still have a very high damage output and like you can't just walk up to this table and like brain dead your way to victory. Like you do
No.
have to respect their maneuverability, all their deep strikes, all that blah 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 stuff. So I think it's like just don't throw, you know.
And you still have to play the game different too. As Dara was saying, you can't just walk up to the table and expect a free win, right? Like in the game that I had against him, I actively never shot any of my Forge Fiends. Like I didn't shoot them because I would do less damage if I shot at them because that means it would screw up my pile and consolidate six. I was just like, wow, these Forge Fiends are better as screening and action monkeys. And that's what they did the whole game. And I did more damage because of it. So you still have to think and actually like GSC is kind of an annoying army because you have to play almost against the laws of 40K and the rules, like the
Yeah.
natural rules of 40K, to really take advantage of like their rebuys and their revives and stuff. But it's definitely a matchup that's very manageable. I think if you don't throw, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So Grey Knights
Another
are
army that's kind of been forgotten.
yeah, I haven't like for an army that felt like it was everywhere and now it suddenly kind of feels like it's nowhere and I don't really feel like the meta became extremely hostile to them or doesn't suit them. I think maybe people just got bored of them.
Small codex with one playstyle, which is
There's
just
only
uppy
so
downy
long
kill
that you're gonna
things.
play that for, you know.
And it's not like even a super dynamic playstyle either, which is not bashing
Hmm.
them. I actually think Grey Knights are a very cool army. I
Oh,
debated
they're
playing.
super cool, but like I just think
They're a good second army to have. But
so true, so true.
not to bash
And
them, but
again,
it's
it's kind of like okay, in this corner we have like durable marine bodies that like jump around the place, and it's sort of like I guess in a way like GSC where you just got to make sure that you're positioning correctly so that they jump where you want them to,
it's very
and wherever they
telegraphable.
end up, you're just gonna kill them
And
because they fall over to dev wounds.
and Warpbane Task Force seems to be the more played of the two
Mm,
detachments, and that's the one without mists, without the
yeah,
reactive disappear off the table, which
which is like the most annoying thing for World Eater
is
players.
probably the most annoying strat in the game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's
But
up there.
the reactive buy strat, we have the speed to catch them because they're going to try to take really weird shooting angles as far away from you as possible and shoot you. But as long as you have your rhinos staged up right and you move your 17 inches and you just kill them, which they will just die. Their guns are all AP2. You're in cover. You're on 4-up saves, right? It's not that
Mm.
bad. They're all damage too in melee. -1 damage goes a long way here. Um, Khorne will
I
just
think it's like
ragdoll
there's
any
always like
squad of them.
inevitably when I play them like an 8 man squad that just gets sent to the Shadow Realm because they had to like hunt down a Grey Knight squad in a corner and it takes them like 3 turns to get back.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of it, you know. Like it's apart from that, it's pretty okay. It can get a little bit hairy if they just like bomb into you in 1 turn.
Spend a CP, give spawn AP, slap them on the ass, and send them off into the sunset, and they'll go find a strike squad and beat it into the dirt.
Yep.
But dev wounds and sustained hits on spawn is a hell of a drug into this army. I don't think it's a hard matchup nearly as much as it was. As Dara said, it's definitely in that gene stealer area where you can't just close your eyes and pretend it doesn't exist. It's like Death Watch, right? It will just table you if you just walk into the table, middle of the table with like your hand over your face.
Yeah.
But if you
I mean, I
plan
think
out
it's
your
definitely
turn,
like it's kind of the top of don't throw. I get maybe okay, maybe it's like maybe
I respect GSE a little bit more.
you respect GSC more? I think that's quite fair. Yeah, I don't disagree there. Because like the throw aspect is like that you move wrong and then they're suddenly everywhere and gunning you in the ass.
Yeah,
So
but
like
like
fair enough.
a squad of 3 8 bound, I'm pretty sure body an NDK like quite
Yeah,
handedly because they're
yeah.
T9 on NDKs.
I can't remember. I feel like they're probably T9. Anyway, it's fine. Just don't move weird and you'll or actually do move weird and you'll be fine.
Yes, and back to
Um,
but if we want to go back to not being fine real quick.
Yeah, IK is so scary right now. It's
Um,
like right there with Chaos. I think Chaos Knights is scarier just because they've got more tools in their book, and OC5 sticky is a drug.
and they
Um,
get Nurglings and Beast and Nurgle and
mm,
decent ally options, right? And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it feels like I'm
IK as an army is like so fine to deal with, in my opinion, compared to CK, but it's still pretty hard to deal with.
Correct.
It's like,
12 dogs plus Canis while they're T9.
oh, dude, I think like in with the new shit, it's gonna be 4 and 4. You're gonna see four armigers and you're gonna see four big
Kill,
boys.
killing the knights was never the problem. Like, especially in Index or now, them being T10, if it was a war dog on the table, it wasn't really a challenge for us to kill them. You just had a chance to get unlucky. The math
Mm.
was still in your favor to kill the war dogs a lot. Now, the math is very in your favor to kill a war dog. It's just there's 11 more behind that one.
Yeah.
And they're cheaper than 8 pound, and one dog will pick three 8 pound up like it's nothing, right?
Mm.
Any variant of dog. Canis Rex from downtown is just going to be shelling you. All of the big knight options are good. We can kill the big knights. Them not having access to -1 damage is really good for us, but they still have access to feel no pain, which is annoying.
It's
Um,
just an attrition game, right? It's like, can you keep them off the scoring for long enough?
and in my opinion, until I think Knights got a little too generous of points cuts, I don't think the T9 nerf was as bad as for them as they're probably going to make it out to be. It was huge for us being able to like push 55 45s that we kill them to 65 like 35s that we should be killing them on certain interactions. Like that's just going to make our game plan more consistent into them. But you have to be consistent quite a bit because there's quite a bit of knights.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
there
I would
sure is.
probably put them somewhere in clinch. Uh,
I'm
I
probably
would,
clenching into deck guard a bit more.
okay, I'll go with that. I mean, I'm not going to fight over that one too much.
Okay. Astra Militarum. You have a lot more reps into this than I do.
I don't,
I've played like the new guard book, I think 3 times, and it's always been relatively fine. Um,
just depends what flavor. I mean,
it depends what flavor.
I
There's a
think the
lot of
least
stuff
fun
going
I've
around.
ever had playing 40K was during the Bridgehead meta.
Oh yeah, I would say like consistently, if I was to like name my top 10 least fun 40K moments, like games, meta states, whatever, it's like probably like I would say a solid 7 out of 10 of those are based around guard or like things guard have done.
And you know what? Like, Guard
Guard
have
is just such a shit army. It's
they've
just like,
owned the top of the meta several times. Like they have been the big
mm,
dog or in the top three several times throughout the edition.
yeah.
And uh
And when they're not, like their player base languishes so hard, it's crazy. They're like
and,
it
and then they
just
talk themselves into probably next slate you're gonna see Ruggle Torrens get tank commanders probably get a point drop or something, right?
oh
Just, it has
Jesus.
to. Or they're like,
Yeah.
hitting on fours was harsh. We'll just make it see hit on threes with your indirect or something. So I don't know. They're gonna end
I
up.
feel like Guard has just like gone is leaning into this this wonderful armored new meta that we're facing into, and it's just hull spam, right, for Guard. I feel like that's
I
the
mean, they were
flavor right
always
now.
doing that. After Bridgehead went away, they were just say, okay, I'm just gonna play four Dorans and call it a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody is now deciding to be toxic, and Guard is like, we've always been the problem, in the corner. So I mean, I would much
I
rather,
don't love the matchup.
I would much rather fight 9 Leman Russes than 12 Dogs and Canis. I would do that all
Oh
day.
yeah. Yeah.
I
I
don't think
agree.
it's nearly as bad as that. Um, they
It's
did just,
very annoying though.
it is
Like
annoying.
it's it's not even like a game that I'm necessarily like I'm going to lose this. It's just a game that I'm like I want it to be over, you know? I just need to get past this part of my life.
I
It's
actually,
like it's the monotony of it, you know? Like at least with like CK or IK, you're kind of like, ooh, you kind of feel like it's like Pacific Rim or something like that. Like you're felling this giant oak tree. But with Guard, you're just like, ah, there goes one Lehman Russ. Got to do it like
here's
11
some
more
rats with
times.
snipers killed Khorne the Betrayer, and here's
Yeah, it's everything about it is just like this is frustrating me,
I don't
you
think
know?
it's a clinch game. Um, I think you
No.
actually have to thoughtfully think out what they can do. They have access to less meaningful activations than something like Knights do. But if you just walk out in the middle of the table, you'll get tabled by 9 Leman Russes. You can't just get stat checked by 9 Leman Russes. I don't think we necessarily struggled to kill them. Karn
You
and the
can always
boys.
like, cause like they tend to clump up, so you can always like bad touch like 4 Lehman Russes with 3 Exalted 8 band, and like 2 of them will die when they fall back.
Or they stand still and shoot straight down, kill the exalted, but that means that those
That's
Russes
all
were
they're doing. Yeah.
that's all they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think the matchup's manageable.
Yeah.
Um,
I would push it kind of like to the upper end of Thinking Man's game, just because it's like, I don't know. For me anyway, it's always a case of like, I got to make sure I don't fall asleep in this game. It's like that's the thinking aspect for
so
me, you know?
harsh,
Oh
so
man, I
harsh.
actually just like, I like the Imperial Guard as a theme, and I love the Decor of Krieg, but I'm just like on the table, like they just never have had an interesting playstyle that seems fun. And like, I don't know if I've really played many people playing Guard that also seem like they're actually enjoying the game. So there's one person I can think of, but yeah.
No,
Anyway,
I wonder what
Necrons.
flavor of +1 to hit or +3 to move I'm going to have. Necrons.
Another army that has like consistently been in the top of all of 10th edition.
But I've never really felt world leaders have struggled with what the problems that they present.
I think there was like we had momentary struggles with the Wraith break before we kind of like cracked the exact perfect way to deal with it. And I think maybe we had a little bit of a spook the first time that like, someone teleports a monolith into your deployment zone. Um, Star Shatter, if it didn't get immediately nerfed, would have been very scary for us, but it got curbed quite quickly. And I think now they're just like at this sort of upper end of fair, where it's kind of like they keep getting these weird like pity point cuts, which they don't necessarily really need, and they're always like one pity point cut away from being a very scary army again. Um, but broadly speaking, I don't think like we have massive problems into Necrons.
No,
Like,
and there's mainly two main flavors of Necrons floating around too,
yeah,
right? You
like
have
Star
Awakened
Shatter's still very
Dynasty.
popular,
Yes,
and
you have
Awakened
Awakened
is very
Dynasty
good.
or Star Shatter. And Awakened is a durability skew, where they just throw 20 warriors on the table and say, haha, most armies in the game can't kill this. Well, we can.
I think Star Shatter is the harder. Like,
Yes. Awakened is almost free, I would say.
hmm.
Um, Star Shatter has the damage,
And it's also got like a lot of holes that we like. It's kind
but
of hard to get through that many holes.
Star Shatter traditionally struggles at playing primary, right?
Yeah,
They're going to be playing three Doomsday Arcs. If they're choosing to bring the Silent King, then their list is like almost done. Like you just get a few other small things.
mm,
Um, but really the army is going to struggle to play primary, which is why you're seeing Star Shatter builds start to flip towards playing Wraiths, right? Star Shatter's
yeah.
playing two Wraith bricks, which we don't, I really, because when they attach the Technomancer to the Wraith, it gains the infantry keyboard, fun fact, which is very useful for dev wounds into infantry and to 4-up invuln, feel no pain bodies. But
God, I love that matchup with vessels where you can just like point at two units and just be like, "You are the ones who will delete the rates in this turn."
and then you slap them on the ass and send them off. And I feel like once you deal with their scoring, right, a Doomsday Arc shooting at a squad of Berserkers is killing like at worst 5 or 6.
Hmm.
And then you auto 8 Surge or you Surge into something else and they're going to struggle. They're always going to struggle into primary against World Leaders, right? I feel like consistently World Leaders will always have that narrow win. It'll be a decisively narrow win because I think it'll happen more often than not. But I feel like we're just going to exist in the middle of the table better than them because they're
Yeah.
going to live in constant fear of the Blood Surge. We actually have the lethality to answer Satan or Wraiths walking in the middle of the table. Like Khorne, lethal sustained, grenades will kill a Satan still, more so than before. Um,
And like a
choose
lot of their -1 to wound jank just doesn't work when you drop Exalted 8 bound on them with anti-monster vehicle.
and just don't forget that shooting them makes them reactive move. So be smart with your
Yeah,
Force
that's
Fiends.
true. Yep.
That's something that we got used to and lazy about in the index. Um,
Yep.
but I
I think
actually
they're
think
like,
it's bottom of don't
yeah,
throw.
yeah. I think that's fair.
Orc
Okay.
moment.
Orc moment. God, the other army that is like up there with armies that I just despise. Except unlike the Guard, I actually hate everything about the Orcs. Like I hate their existence. I think if I had to like Legends, not even Legends, I think if I had to like literally permanently delete one range from the game, it would be Orcs. It's
Really?
such a stupid army. It's just
Tara, stop.
no, I won't.
Talk about their gameplay, not
Oh man, I need to like someday I need to.
Aren't you having so much fun? I'm calling Wah.
I feel so many things I just can't say. Um,
Say it.
Look, the matchup is pretty free because orcs are still trying to run a lot of what they think is durable infantry at you. You can blend them up quite nicely for all the reasons that we've already talked about, and it's even more free because like vast majority of orc players genuinely aren't very good at the game. I would say they probably have like the most casual player base that attends tournaments. You know, where it's kind of like people who enjoy playing the game casually, which is a perfectly fine thing to do, but go to tournaments. I would say they're up there with like the only army that maybe rivals them is Imperial Guard, where it's people who are like, I am bringing my three Bane Blades out to this tournament, and power to you if that's what you want to do. But like orc players will literally just like I've never met more people who are trying to like embody the army that they play at the tournament table, and they will just run at you, and you'll take a hit in the way that you want to take the hit, and then you will respond and you will fold them over your knee with devastating wounds and sustained hits, and they just won't be able to do anything, and their entire army will evaporate into a nice green mist, and they'll be like, wow, that was a lot of damage, but they'll probably enjoy it because they're orc players. So I would say it's like matchup de la creme for me, except for the fact that I have to play it, which is the annoying part. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the orc matchup. Pretty
Okay.
free, I would say.
Realistic take on orcs, just not hate driven.
You know,
I
the other thing that I actually love is more Daka got nerfed, and then in the balanced data slate they got nerfed again,
yeah, they got the
which was
double tap,
like
the
they
back
didn't
up
need that
and
that
hit him.
didn't need to happen, but I'm glad it did. I'm glad it did. I'm gonna say that now. That's how much I hate orcs. I know that it's not fair, and I know that that shouldn't have happened, but I'm glad it did.
Okay. You good?
I'll think of something else. I just
Okay.
like, actually, you know what it is? It's like all this thing, right? Where like orc players are like, I just want to have fun. An orc player's idea of fun is like nine planes bombing my ass in ninth edition. Or it's like, mega knobs that I just can't kill in 10th edition. Or it's more Daka being like, oh yeah, I just like leaf lowered you off the board. That's like I just like can't get my head around it. It's just it's not it should be a fun army. It should be really, really fun. And it's just not because every time GW writes the rules for the army, they're like, you know what we need? We need orcs to be the best shooting army in the game because in all the lore, they're really inaccurate. But on the tabletop, they might as well hit on ones because that's how good they are at shooting. And that's just so dumb.
Okay.
I'm done now.
Warhorde Orcs is pretty much. I mean, Tactical also got hit by the stray that hit Daka's body.
Yep.
It went through Daka's dead corpse and it hit Tactical, and that army went up like 100 points. Warhorde is still probably a struggle. It can be a struggle on the table for us. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just a very efficient detachment with efficient strats. And if you are not playing against your local Stampa enjoyer, and you are playing against somebody with a very tuned orc list, it can actually trade very well into world leaders if you're not paying attention. Like five knobs will lift 10 berserkers in Khorne.
It's still quite hard for us to actually get through the big um Pig Squad. I can't remember what they're called.
Oh,
The
the
squig
Squig
things.
Squigs. Well, nobody's playing Squigs. It's all
But if that showed up, that is a hard unit for us to get
it
through.
is, and they have access to -1 to wound, and on your go turn, if they have 5 CP, they're gonna -1 to wound, fight on death, and interrupt you,
Yeah,
and that
their
can
trading
sometimes
efficiency is extremely good.
yes, and their lethality is good too. And then
Hmm.
honestly, if a talented world leader player played orcs like they were world leaders. Orcs are probably pretty darn good if
Oh
you
yeah,
play
they've
them.
got all the
If
right
you
rules.
if you just cover your eyes and pretend they're screaming berserkers, they're pretty good. And if you
Yeah,
just pretended that Warhorde was a world leader detachment and you substitute all the keywords, you'd say, "Dang, that's probably a very good world leader
pretty good
detachment."
rules. Like if we had the Mega Knobs data sheet in our book, by God, would we run them? Like,
You're not wrong.
or the knob data sheet. Like those,
We
they've got
would
a
play
lot of
knobs.
really good rules. They're just hampered in different ways.
So I actually think the matchup is not free, as much
It's
as you
not
want it to
free.
be.
No, it's not free.
Your average orc player maybe could be free, actually.
Man, you never know. Like you could rock up to the table and someone could be bringing that like whatever it's called. Is it Dread Mob? The one where it's like
Yeah,
the
the shooting
vehicles?
one. Yeah.
Man, how are you dealing with a Stampa? Like, genuinely, how are you dealing with a Stampa? That thing will table you. It will walk into the GW little L in the middle, and it will look over the entire board and say, "Come out." Like, what are you going to do into a Stampa if that shows up? You
I
really
think
think it's Thinking Man's game?
what, do you want this?
Yeah, I want that. I think it's like you still have the advantage here.
Okay.
Hmm. That was
Sisters.
fun. Sisters, an
Are
army that I
we
actually absolutely love. In contrast, I think they're like one of the coolest armies in the game. But um, they're like in a kind of an interesting spot where I feel like a lot of them don't necessarily know what they want to be bringing, and like the army varies wildly depending on what detachment you're playing into. And I think that there isn't really necessarily like every Sisters player takes this detachment at a tournament right now.
I would say more often than not, they've started to fall back to the index detachment, which is probably the most common way you'll see them held martyrs. Because I think that
I
detachment also offers some of the most player skill expression,
It
but
does, but in like I mean in my meta there's like people playing bringers and there's people playing pen host. Like you just I don't know and like I respect both of those armies as like armies that can if you play wrong into them will just like lift you very very quickly, especially now that we lost all our durability. Before it was like pretty free when we had feel no pains, especially on like Exalted 8 band, you could kind of just stand in front of them and laugh, but now it's kind of like, well, you know, I'm trading down a lot of the time here. So like I really need to maximize the value out of my units. I don't think it's like a super free game. It's kind of like a weird version of maybe it sort of always feels like I'm playing against Black Templars in a little bit of a way where I'm like there's like freaky shooting going on and then there's a lot of really good combat as well.
yeah, and I mean, Morvenn Vahl by yourself. The game turns into a race of can you make contact with Morvenn Vahl?
Hmm.
And if you can, the game becomes easy and really good. If Morvenn Vahl gets to overwatch you 3 times and then fa charge and fight you 3 times and then also shoot you 4 times, you're probably going to lose that game.
Yeah.
I mean, what a messed up character unit. That unit's so dirty.
It's
Um,
a freaky unit.
they're
Yeah, I
they're
think
T3 1 wound,
they are.
and they are just slightly better Predator tanks and stuff for their vehicles, but they do get to cheat with dice. Like they do get game permission cheating. Um, it's a very skill expression army for the
It
pilot.
is. Yeah.
And I feel like you will never play, if you're playing against a good Sisters pilot, you will never have a free game. Even just a competent Sisters pilot, I feel like they'll always almost give you a good game.
In my opinion, they're like, right up there with like Thinking Man's game. Like you got to be locked in for that one.
I was probably going to put them actually right above CSM.
Yeah, that's fair. T-Sons?
T-Sons.
I have not played against the new T-Sons. I'm gonna say that right now. I don't have an opinion on this one. So,
I have a bit of an opinion because,
yeah.
like I was saying, I have quite a bit of experience playing Emperor's Children, probably my second most played army in the edition, behind World Leaders. And I'm hoping that will actually change, and I want to make T-Sons my second most played army of the edition. I haven't owned an entire T-Sons army. I was talking about playing them way earlier in the edition. I bought them all together. I have a painted Magnus up on the shelf that I'm pulling down. So actually, I have a lot of interest in this army. I think the army is really cool. I think that getting rid of the Cabal points was probably just in the interest of the health of the game in general.
Yeah.
Like
And
the
the health of
opposite of
the
a comeback
T-Sons
mechanic
army.
is a hell of a mechanic of like I am really strong until you start losing me, then I'm going to lose harder, right? This didn't feel good for either player,
I do like that they decided like, oh, you know what we'll do for the T-Sons Codex? We'll give them ninth edition Psychic Face. Like
which they didn't do it perfectly. Like it's still pretty messed up.
it's still pretty messed up. It's like they've got a lot of good rules. I think I mean there's like very polarizing opinion on this. I've talked to T-Sons players who are like, this army is trash, and I've talked to T-Sons players who are like, this army is fucked up beyond all measure. And I don't really know if I have like an opinion on it until I properly sit down and like grind out 10 games against them. And by the time I manage to do that, there might be an FAQ making them even better or even worse. So who knows?
My take is Thousand Sons are probably one of the best armies in the game.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think their lethality is just as high, if not higher, than it was in the index, and the index lethality is quite high. Their doom bolts don't hit as hard, but um,
I mean,
they
their
still have
rubrics hit
them.
like a train now.
I mean, they always did.
They
Now
always
they just
did, to be fair. Yeah.
they always did. Like they never struggled with damage, and the damage is there. The
Mm.
Mutalith Vortex Beasts are too cheap. And into World Leaders in particular, dealing with a Mutalith Vortex Beast at 160 points. Here's this T10 monster. It's 12 wounds, I believe. A 5-up Feel No Pain and a 5-up Invuln. 3 8-bound. Just don't pick that up. You need to Forge Feed it and 8-bound it to maybe kill it. Or you just have to full commit a Berserker squad into it to for sure kill it. Now you have a Berserker squad out in the open. They have 2 more Mutaliths, and that Berserker squad is going to just die in one phase of just a couple Doom Bolts and a Magnus activation. You're going to lose that squad. So trading into this army can actually be quite challenging. Um, I found that the Spawn do a lot of work here. Spawn run it. Rubrics are actually like deathly scared of Spawn, right? Like
I mean, it
Spawn
makes
are like
sense narratively.
this.
Is
I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, yeah.
that my
Uh,
future running at me?
brother. But the we have the abilities to put pressure on them, and that's what you should do. Is you don't want to get stuck in that tit for tat trading game, killing a
I don't think
Mutaloth
like our
here.
play pattern into them is massively different than what it was in the index.
No, but
You know?
they can stand in the middle of the table way better than they could before.
Yeah.
Mainly because bow goats are 80 points for 6 and will just take a massive chunk out of anything they shoot at.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Mutalithids are
they're very good now.
too cheap. Magnus is arguably better. That might get me a hot take off of me, but like
He's
Magnus
different.
he used to be someone who described it to me as he used to be leashed to his army or the rest of the army
Yeah,
because he had
he's a bit more of a loose agent now.
yeah, he used to give +1 hit to hit +1 to wound to the whole army. And
He's like Angron now.
now he just goes where he wants and just kills
Yeah.
what he wants, and he's going to do a good job of killing it. Um,
So are you clenching?
I think so
Mm.
because it's
I feel like
also
they're top of clench though.
I need to assume like when we're doing this, I need to assume equal player skill, very good pilot, and very good Thousand Sons players are also just usually very good at 40k in general. This is not usually someone's first army. This is somebody who plays Eldar constantly, and Eldar gets nerfed, and they want to play the other broken, overly complicated army. So they'll swap to this. But I think in the current
Thankfully,
position that
when
they're
I
in,
assume equal player skill, it's a bad Thousand Sons player, so I'll usually win.
but I do think that they are in clinch somewhere,
hmm
probably underneath the Archangels for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Space Marines.
Ugh.
Do we have to talk about Space Marines? It's Ultramarines Gladius. It's
Just
painful
put
to play against.
like
Just
here.
you're
Is that good?
clenching.
Like right
Yeah.
here?
God,
Sure.
I hate Ultramarine Gladius so much. I don't
I
hate it
don't
as much as I hate Orcs, but it's just like, why are you playing Blue Boys? Like,
on the
come on.
wrong mission, you just lose. Like
Mm,
that's what I found. Like I had to play GW layout 1, but all 3 circles had no cover and they're in the middle of the table and they could get shot at no matter where they were. And it was into
yeah.
Conan, and Conan's like, I'm never leaving my deployment zone, and you have to play the game. I have bottom of turn. I'm gonna win the game. And it's just like, damn, this feels great. You have how much CP? 35. Oh, wait, no, they got nerfed in the balance lane. Now they only have 25. So they
Yeah.
don't just spend it on stupid stuff like armor of contempting a scout squad with 1 wound left on one dude just to scam you for points, right? Now they just think a little bit harder than armor of contempt the things that matter, right? They still have more CP than every other army in the game. They still have +1 to wound for some reason. I mean, if we're talking Space Marines too, we're assuming Ultramarines.
Yeah.
Um,
No one's
specifically
running anything else.
Gladius Ultramarines. I mean, there's the Stormlance Ultramarines variant, which is really good right now, which is role playing a Storm Raven. The list is what it is. But oh, Army is just still incredibly overtuned, and like, why would you nerf it and then give it points cuts? Like, that's not nerfing. That's just taking a problematic army
I was
and
like
like,
trying to get away with making it look like you nerfed it, but
yeah,
still
but
wanting
you
to keep
didn't.
playing it.
Now you're just like, oh, sweet. What if they don't play Calgar and just get like one and a half more tanks in their army because of that?
Yeah.
Which
Space
I don't
Wolves
know.
is an interesting one up next because it's like not really out yet. So,
I do have to, I have quite a bit of reps into it.
oh yeah,
Quite a bit.
yeah. I have not because in my local we're still playing with the index. So,
I've been testing on TTS. I mean, I got a pretty strong Space Wolf community around me. Um,
ooh, ooh.
that's ooh, woo, literally. The takes so far from the Space Wolf players that I've talked to and of all the games that I've played into them, the data sheets are broadly just better than they were before. Um, the detachments are nothing better than Stormlance or Gladius, is what I've been hearing.
Yeah,
And I've seen some of the detachment guys play, and I also take that with a grain of salt, guys. Like the cooks need to cook in the kitchen a little bit on this one because it is quite a wide, like the Space Marine supplement codex is, or Space Wolf supplement codex is quite large. There's quite a lot of cool things that have been going on in there. It's probably
it's
gonna take a
definitely
while
one
for
of
the
the
army to get
bigger
cooked.
supplements. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of just unique units in
And
there.
it's not gonna be as brain dead as insert 24 Thunderwolf Cavalry and figure the rest
Mm.
out. The list is quite a bit deeper than that now, which is nice to see. But all that being said, they are melee
Marines,
Marines,
infantry,
3 wounds,
mostly 2 and 3 wounds.
in the middle of the table, and importantly, they are not Blood Angels cheap or Blood Angels broken. So I
Mm.
actually think they're a good matchup for us. I think they
Yeah,
play a very fair 40K game, and World Leaders love playing against other Marine armies that just like,
want to play fair melee hammer?
yeah, we
Yeah.
we play fair melee hammer way fairer than the rest of the other fair melee
Oh,
hammer
it's so
armies.
fair. Yeah.
So I would probably put them.
Hmm.
I don't. I probably disrespect Black Templars more than I disrespect Space Wolves, and for that reason, I'll probably put them at the top of the don't throw and you'll be fine. It's still a melee matchup. They still got a lot of really cool tricks. Thunderwolf Cav are dirt cheap for some reason, like 220 points for like 30 damage, 3 attacks. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, my bingo card did not have Thunderwolf Cavalry getting better and cheaper. Uh, but I don't. You pre-measure. You know where they're coming from. They can't go through walls, and you'll be fine. And the rest of the army is just different flavors of Blade Guard and different flavors of just worse Khorne Berserkers. You'll be fine.
Until they draw the challenger card that lets them go through the wall, and then you're
Yes, then
fucked.
then you're fucked. Then the dogs figured out how to open doors. It's like Jurassic Park with the Velociraptor, but it's a dog.
That's
Um,
like probably the only time I would see someone like choose the stratagem side of the challenger card, and I would literally shit my pants.
your
All right.
Berserker is like behind a wall, and he's like, "I'm an inch from the wall. It's safe." And he starts to hear the doorknob start to twitch on the wall.
He looks down and there's like a dog flap in the bottom of the door. Tao is up next. I've played the new Tao like twice now. Kind of feels exactly like playing against the old Tao, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, like
It's easier to understand. I will say that. It's like easier when your opponent starts doing things to understand what's happening.
they got the
Um,
quality of life upgrade of being able to split fire, but like,
yeah.
sure,
It's
you're
still
like
the same Tao as
10
before.
AP 0, strength 4 attacks into my power armor. You
I
did
think
one
it's like
extra
it's
damage.
broadly a very fine matchup. The only thing that stings is like it's still a little bit annoying to like trade efficiently into Tau because like A-Bound will kill a thing and then they'll get picked up by breachers. Like they'll get really picked up by breachers now, let me tell you that. Breachers have so far picked up everything I have put into the Tau lines. Um, Maul Ravines are pretty good because a lot of the Tau stuff is like weird toughness breakpoints. Like Ghost kills are like T8, which is kind of like I feel like that's like a super rare toughness these days, you know? And they can be good for like getting rid of the blanking damages on the ghost kills like quite early, which is something that like 8 band absolutely hate. And Riptides die so easily to 8 band, like in Berzerker Warband specifically. It's very, very good. They do have a -1 damage stratagem, which is pretty annoying. But broadly speaking, I think it's a pretty fine matchup because they can't push you that hard if you're staging correctly. And
I really don't feel like the metrics on it changed. I feel like they do a little bit more
no,
damage, but they always did a lot of
I don't
damage
think
to
they
world
like do
leaders.
necessarily more damage. They're just like a little bit more consistent. And like they can afford. what it is now is like I was talking to like one of the guys who basically mains Tau, and he was saying like before it sucked because like everything had to kill everything in one single activation, and if that didn't happen, you were fucked. And now you have like a fallback, which is good. Like I do like that. Um, I think broadly for world leaders though, it's like you're not playing the game any different to how you were before. You're still just barreling into them with lethal and sustained hits up most of the time. You're probably trying to grab 6 inch pile and consolidate a bunch as well.
Like you just want to touch as much stuff as you can, bully them on primary.
You
That's what
don't
it
like
is.
necessarily want to like touch everything because like a lot of them are like, you touch me, I have the get out of jail free. You want to touch their infantry and their tanks. You don't want to touch the suits
Oh,
ever.
of course. But as far as like chucking 10 berserkers at their line, crashing in their line, smashing that off the table, and then consolidating in and touching like three or four
Yeah.
transports and hammerhead and stuff, that's what you want to be doing.
You know what I
Uh,
found actually in Tau, which is a pretty weird thing? Like the times that I've played them with the new mission pack is like they're the only army that I end up drawing challenger cards against, and I usually win because I score like 3 challenger cards. Which
God,
I'm
I
like,
hate
am I
challenger
scamming
cards
every
so
single
much.
victory against Tau? Like it's just
I hate
stupid.
challenger cards so much.
Oh, they're so dumb. Anyway,
Do you agree with that
um,
placement?
I'm okay with that placement. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Nids is a freaky one up next. Have you seen their new detachment?
I
Holy shit,
I
uppy
played
downy
against that new
zoanthropes.
detachment. Man, it's messed up.
It's so messed up. It's like the most messed up deep strike based
So
army in
like
the entire game.
so like Chaos Demons, right? They have been doing what Tyranids are now doing all along. They um drop a fat boy, which then spawns another fat boy within 6 inches of you and charges you. And it's like, wow, that sucks. You just got to like airdrop a bloodthirst from my face. At least you have 700 points of your army within striking distance. Well, what if Nids was just like, I'm gonna have this Ravener pop up, spawn this little circle, and then it's gonna be on a. This is what you do with it. You spawn it on one side of a wall. You inch from the wall with Hormagaunts, and then you take a Haruspex and you throw it on the other side of the wall 6 inches away from your opponent.
I
And you
still think
just
that's the wrong approach. There's a much simpler way of doing this. You bring in your Raveners, and then you bring in the Hierophant Biotitan right in front of them. Because if you like, it doesn't have a base. So if you put it like on top of the unit,
it
I
does fit.
we worked it out. You can get it like 6 inches to each leg, so it's still legal to place. And then you've got a Biotitan in their face, and what the fuck are they gonna do then? And I think they're only like 700 points these days,
They're probably like
so
$700 too. Anyways, the
it's a messed up detachment.
but that's the thing with the demon attachment though, is they have to actually commit resources to present this really strong like offensive output. Nids is just
Yeah.
like, 130 point Haruspex, go, like a little Pokemon at you. Except they do that twice every turn for 4 turns. And
Hmm.
you're screaming the whole time while Jurassic Park is going on in your back lines.
I genuinely think the scariest thing is like when it farts out like 6 zoanthropes with a neurothrope leading them. And you're just like, whatever these things point at is so insanely dead.
Well, I hate the 1 CP strat where they get to like ditto like down or whatever
Yeah,
the
go
like
back in.
go back in and pop back up
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yep. You have that with zoanthropes, and you'll never
Now,
forget about it. I
that
still think,
that being said,
that being said, T9 is not the place that they want to be, and that's the place that they live a lot of the time. And you know what's really funny? It was really funny about Nids, particularly the Neurotrope and Zonetrope combo, is that's a unit that has both the infantry and the our monster keyword at the
oh
same
God, now's your
time.
time.
Now's my time, baby. This unit has an infantry character leading a monster unit. So what you do is you put your dev wounds on so you can get dev wounds versus infantry, and you send in your exalted 8 bound who have anti-monster 3 plus, and you blow them into the sun. And if that wasn't enough, there's another unit in the Nate's Codex that has that. It's a Hive Tyrant or the Swarm Lord being led by Tyrant card. You want to obliterate one of those units, you send in 3 exalted 8 bound. The job is done. So if you see
Now,
that, that is your primo target.
your opponent will never attach the Neuro Tyrant again.
No, they will call it TO. They will be unhappy, but it will be legal.
And that is like one of two scenarios that you can do that in the game, and it's
That's the
mostly
only
to
two
just
scenarios that I
is
can
it?
find in the entire game, and they're both in the NID book.
But it's still struggle into power armor. Like -1 damage is strong to them. They're mostly AP1, AP2. You're in cover. They can make them struggle. Exocrine shooting does hurt quite a bit. It's a lot
Hurts
harder
a
to dodge them
lot
when they could
now.
be literally anywhere.
Mm,
Um, of all of the toughness stat check armies out there, Nids are the most manageable in my opinion.
I don't know. When a
Insert,
Norn like farts out on the objective that he wants to from a tunnel, it feels pretty rough.
I would rather play against this than four Dorns.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
It just
Of the
looks
toughness
cooler.
stat check armies, I think they're the most manageable.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think it's like it's probably like top of Thinking Man's game, maybe bottom of Don't Throw.
If it's any other Nid detachment, it's definitely up here.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree for sure.
But I think Nid players have gotten so bored of playing Crusher that they're
Mm,
literally grasping for anything else.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right, Dara, tell us about your favorite pet project second
Fuck this
army.
army, Jesus Christ. Leagues of Vodan are like, I'm really happy that they're kind of sliding into like armies that don't really exist anymore, you know? Like they're joining that like shadow realm of like Admech and Agents of the Imperium. Like I just don't see them anymore, and I'm happy about that one. I like the other armies that are falling into the shadow realm. I love Admech, they're super cool. But Votan, I'm like, I'm happy to wave them goodbye. Um, how are world leaders into Votan?
Pretty good.
I guess like broadly quite good. Like
I mean, think everything you said about Tau, but a little bit worse.
yeah, that's pretty much it. I think they can be a little bit harder to kill.
How?
Well, like okay, if they rack up with two land forts, like that is just harder to kill than anything Tau will put in
I
your
guess that's
face.
factually true, but
There's people who run two land forts. That is like one of the comp Votan
Karn the boy
builds.
is still lift it. It's not like it's an insurmountable. It's not a Chaos Knight.
I don't know if Khorne and the boys lifted.
They definitely do. There's no way they don't.
Look, the matchup is a lot easier with Goremongers existing now. You're not just going to get like scout blasted by 18 bikes in the first turn, which is nice. It's a fine matchup. It's very like don't throw, you know. It's way more don't throw than Tau because like they're just a little bit more honest and like as long as you make sure you've got fight on death up whenever they're planning on cracking the Zerks out, you should be okay. I don't really have much of an opinion on them. You're
I
probably
think
not going to run into them on the tournament tables.
when you do, they're a very fair army. Like they're not doing
Mm,
anything incredible. I mean, actually, their strats are quite strong. If you had zero context on what the rest of the army does, and you only read the strats from their index attachment, you'd be like, "Oh my God, this army must be the most broken thing in the game." Like one's like, once they have armor of contempt, they have
yeah.
fallback, shoot and charge, right? They have sustained hits two, a weapon gain sustained hits two, right? They have a lot of
But
really strong things going on.
they've got like that one to make their like weapons become like crazy AP as well if it's going into a judge unit. They got like good tools. I just
And then
think
you just
like
read their data sheets and you're like, wow, this is like actually fine.
pretty fair. Yeah. We did it. That is the final spread. It's like when you look at it,
Take your screenshot.
put that back. I mean, when you look at it, right? Like, I feel like there's maybe a lot of world leader players like doom spiraling right now about the meta, but like the way that we see it is like the majority of the armies in the game are like favorable or fair. And then there's like a few squeaky bum times where like we've definitely been in 10th edition metas that have been a lot like less favorable than this one.
Yeah, and I would say the Codex opened that up a lot for us, right? Pile
Yeah.
and Consolidate 6 and access to decent shooting really left a lot of
I also think that
armies.
we just like the rules that we were given made us like the primo good marine melee army.
Yes. We have our tools to deal with the game got better broadly. I mean, it's no secret that toughness stat checks have kind of reared their head up. It's
Hmm.
inconvenient that they're also just good in this meta right now. the meta's leaning towards, toughness stat checks. But other than toughness stat checks, a lot of the other problematic armies that traditionally gave us issues um, don't. Like Custodes is almost free. It is almost free, right? That used to be an incredibly problematic army for us. Black Templars, Dark Angels, right? Both of those Dark Angels used to be like nearly unwinnable.
Hmm.
Now I just need some testing into the new Dark Angels
It's
attachment.
definitely gonna be one of the harder ones, but it's not what it was. Like when you have this ability that can just turn on, ignore the save, it like it's very, very strong. Even Eldar, with the hits to Yanari, they're in a much better place now for us. I think like broadly speaking, I'm not massively stressed unless I'm rocking into CK, and that's still infinitely better than rocking into original Mordaka.
Oh, wildly better. And then like
Yeah.
it's still a winnable game, but like I said, your mindset shouldn't be to table them. It should be to actually try to play the game itself. And I think a few of these armies, notably Thousand Sons, Death Guard, and the Night armies, are one data slate from being brought in line
Mm.
in us being kind of like in a good end of like I feel like we're gonna ride pretty smooth through the end of the edition in terms of
If there's a
the
world where those armies get brought into line, nothing crazy rears its head, and we get point drops, I could see us becoming the problem.
there is a world where world leaders are a top three, top five army.
Mm.
I agree that I don't think we're that far from it. I think we're like one of the lists I've written plus Goremongers away from it, right?
Yeah, we're like one data slate where we kind of like accidentally slip under the radar from being, or not slip under the radar, but we're like slightly overcorrected when our biggest predators are dropped down, and then things become very scary.
But well, we've been talking a lot. You've heard a lot of
We
opinions that
have.
you may agree with, you may disagree with. Feel free to definitely hit us up and share us.
If you play Orcs, I don't want to hear about it. Okay? I just don't want to hear about it. You can PM me. I'm not going to read it. I don't care.
If you play Orcs, I respect you a little bit, just a little bit more than Dara does, and I'm here for you.
It's not that I don't
Um,
respect you. I just don't respect the choice you've made. And I
so
won't respect you on the table when I table you with venom.
with the with the frown the whole time,
Brr.
the red path has never been more toxic.
Oh, I don't know
Um,
about that.
it's been more before, but
Yeah.
if you guys are curious about how some of these matchups go, if you'd like a more in-depth breakdown of how Dara and I feel into these matchups, and get some other takes, unhinged takes from like Jamie and such, feel free to hit us up in the Discord. Please like and subscribe for more content. We also always offer our Patreon. Like that's where I'm doing most of my list brewing. That's where you can see my Angron list spiraling right now. Because if you're looking at the clench to Dark Souls Fog Wall, Angron actually does weirdly help those matchups quite a bit down there.
Stop pitching it.
I'm
Stop
pitching
pitching
it.
it.
I'm probably not going to do
Stop.
it. But
Stop.
GW, please rewrite his data sheet 3 times until it's good. He's basically just the lion but red. Um, Feel free to check us out, guys. Got nothing else to add, Dara.
Yeah, man. That's good. That's been fun. Always love a good tier list. Hope you guys did too. And until the next one, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill, maim, burn.